Hello everyone, and welcome to Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting series on what if Naruto awakens the Hellsing power of New Age of Vampires. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. It's been said that the path of fate we all follow is predetermined by God. What we never understand is where our fate leads, or ends, but most importantly is if we should even willingly follow it. Naruto was falling down a crevice. He was training with someone he never met before in training to perform summoning in toads, in order to beat Neji in the exams. He was kind of questioning the pervert at the top of the crevice on his teaching methods since he was falling to his death in a bottomless abyss with spikes for walls. I understood nearly from the start that the path we follow may lead to disaster, but we must follow it. For sometimes, not often but sometimes, it will lead to a better future. I was always taught to trust in myself, and trust in those who are beside me. Most importantly, I was taught to entrust myself to my fate, no matter what the cost, for you make your own fate, following the path God laid down in front of you. Naruto was in his mindscape, talking it out with the Kyuubi as he fell. In his mind it was a few minutes, but in real life a few seconds, as he finally had a talk with the menacing fox inside him. He woke up to still be falling, and tried the summoning jutsu again, pulling on the chakra to use it, but when he did, it didn't do anything. Nothing at all. He looked shocked as he, once again, summoned a small toad. This one vanished quickly as Kyuubi's chakra was unstable. As if saying, fuck you. It takes many years to understand that what could have gone right to help you be a better person that never happened, would actually be something that would never help you become the greater person. When I thought that I could live, normal and happy for a normal lifetime, I would be better off. I thought that all the time, regretting that I couldn't do what I always wanted. Naruto screamed as he tried to grab a spike again from the walls of the crevice. He didn't catch it this time, as he actually was too far towards the wall and a spike rammed into his side, cutting his side open and ripping him apart, his blood spilling all around him. He kept trying, slowing down a little more every time he managed to grab a spike, but was still slipping, the walls way too slippery for him to ever hold on now. It wasn't until I lived my life to its fullest as I am, when I realized I would have never been happy being the person I wanted to be, never as great, never someone who could make a difference as big as I had created as I am right now. God laid this path before me, and I fought it at first, but I chose to follow it, and I will never regret it. This is who I am, and I will not fail in my duties. Naruto was falling to the bottom, the floor getting closer and closer, nearly visible now, and he was still falling way too fast. He looked up and kept trying though, failing miserably. I will never fail in believing how I was taught, by my master, by my friend, my father, my mother, my family. For you all, I shall never stop in my duties, I will never stop living for my purpose. Naruto screamed his last scream from his falling inside this crevice. I can't die. I can't die. I have too much to do in my life. Help me. His blood hit the floor of the abyss before he screamed, but also something else as well. The blood splashing would soon create the life he was always meant to have. In the name of God, impure souls of the living dead shall be banished into eternal damnation. Amen. Naruto closed his eyes and awaited his death, which never came. He opened his eyes to see a woman holding him, a woman in a strange blue uniform, shoulder-length blonde hair, and bright red eyes. What was strange was she had some of his blood on her face and uniform, but there was smeared blood, from the side of her cheek near her mouth connecting to her mouth, where two teeth protruded as fangs. Naruto was just stunned, speechless, as the woman held him in her arms strongly, and was looking up with her eyes closed. He wondered what was going on, who this woman was and why she was at the bottom of this abyss. After a moment she opened her red eyes and looked to Naruto, looking sad with a sad smile. You've had a horrible life, and I know you are still moving forward to have a better one, but I will help however I can. Naruto Uzumaki, right? Naruto nodded in shock. This woman knew his name. How the hell did she find out if she has been down here? Better yet, what was with the slightly airy accent? Sounded pretty sophisticated. Yeah, how did you know? The woman stood him upright on the ground and bowed. I am Sarah's Victoria, a very old and very strong vampire. I am sure you have never known one. I seen your memories. Naruto looked confused and shocked at all this. Vampire? What the hell is a vampire? and there is no way you can see my memories. Sarah smiled at that and looked up at him. A vampire is an immortal. Someone who can live, staying the same age, forever. There are many ways to kill a vampire, but we have survived the ages. Speaking of vampires' survival, we drink blood to survive and gain more strength. I drank some of yours, and that is how I've seen your memories. I have a rare ability, to see the memories stored in the blood of a host body. Naruto looked very puzzled, and very overwhelmed. Vampire, blood abilities. Wait, blood abilities. Wait, so, you have some kind of bloodline limit? Vampire? Sarah's looked confused and thought about it from his memories and sighed. No, see, whilst being a vampire is kind of like it, having special abilities that are not usually for a normal person, anyone can become a vampire, so it's not truly a bloodline limit. Being a vampire is kind of like being chosen for something special. Naruto frowned, seeing more questions he needed to ask. She seemed to realize what bloodline limits were, but from his memories, so she knew everything about him. Which included the Kyuubi. He finally realized. He stepped back. You know what's inside me. Sarah sighed, but smiled a little, knowing how clueless he was currently. Yes, I do. I know about the fox. But I also know that the fox is not you. The fox is inside you, that is all. You are your own unique person, and you should be respected for holding back something so dangerous back from destroying this place. Truth be told, she got more than just his memories, she got the memories 2 generations older than him. She had been alive for a long time, thousands and thousands of years, her powers grown to heights she never thought imaginable. That included gaining the memories of the host body and their ancestors, but only the parents and grandparents, no further. Naruto was a little out of it. Come on, finding a woman down here, not dead, after the fall and punctures his body endured, and not to mention one that was, well, gifted, to say the least, in more ways than one, was beyond normal for him. Sarah stood straight, no longer bowing, and smiled. If you don't mind, I think we should be going. I mean, it's fine and dandy that we are in a dank hole in the ground, but we should be getting up and ready. No doubt that master of yours is kind of worried. Naruto looked in horror. Oh shit. The whole reason I was thrown in here was to summon an actual toad. Damn it. How do we get out of here though? It's like the deepest hole on the planet. Sarah's turned and bent down on one knee. I can get us up, just hop on my back. Naruto looked at her and was a little skeptical. He slowly did as she said and climbed on her back, and she held onto his legs. Hang on to me tight. This is going to be a bit of a ride. Naruto nodded and held on with a tight grip, making sure not to put his arms around her neck and just ready. He smelled her, and she smelled a little like spring water. After being down here for however long, he could sort of believe that the water dripping off the walls kept her clean. What it was her never producing body oil due to being a corpse till just a moment ago. Suddenly she jumped, with great speed and power, and actually managed to jump half the thing in seconds, landing on the edge of a spike, and Naruto got scared. For no reason, as she jumped off it and they were out of the crevice with little trouble and landing on solid ground above. Jiraiya was pacing like hell for the last 15 minutes, wondering if he should tell the third he may have killed Naruto using this method. He was even considering killing himself. Not only would the third do it for him before he could have time to blink, but if he managed to keep alive long enough to tell the council, they would do it themselves. Sure, the council was a bit iffy on Naruto, but a few key members kept with the third's policy and actually changed their minds after a good while, but that was enough to have him dead in seconds. Hell, Danzo would kill him just for destroying the weapon he wanted. But, as Sarah stood in front of him, Naruto on her back, he was both glad Naruto was okay, and cautious around Sarah's, for she was a stranger to him. Naruto got off her back and she stepped up to Jiraiya, and in a non-hostile way. Jiraiya was still cautious, but let a little bit of his guard down, which was a mistake, cause the second he did that, he got a fist rammed to the face, which forced him to fly about 10 feet backwards. Sarah's huffed. Nice going, creep, you could have killed him. Jiraiya was about to fight her off, but stopped as he heard her say that. He blinked. Wait, you know Naruto? He never mentioned you. And he damn well should have. Jiraiya looked her up and down and she rammed another fist into his head, this time slamming it into the ground and making him into a human ostrich. Naruto was stunned, whistling a bit. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Sarah smiled and looked to him. You'll never incur my wrath, Master. Jiraiya's head popped up from the ground in shock. Master, and what in the name of the 5 nations did you do to get this girl to call you master? Sarah snarled at him as she stared at him angrily, her blue eyes turning red. You will step down, or do you prefer another fist to the face? He woke me up, he is my master, that is how simple it is. She remembered how her first and true master, Alucard, became servant to Integra so eagerly, how he tasted her blood and wanted only to serve her. Sarah's had the same urge, to loyally serve Naruto. Jiraiya was in shock and stunned by this. His thoughts spoke it all, but only to him. That little brat has this bombshell of a woman, someone so hot and sexy in her tight outfit, calling him master. How the fuck did he wake her up? Fucking eat her out into a blissful state so wonderful she was hooked. Sarah's turned to Naruto. So, shall we be off? I suppose we have to go see this Hokage of yours. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Jiraiya shook himself from his stupor to think clearly here. First of all, what the hell do you mean he woke you up? Second of all, why did your blue eyes change to red eyes suddenly? And lastly, why do you need to go to the Hokage? Sarah's scoffed. The first 2 can be answered when we go see the 3rd Hokage, and the 3rd answer is because I am not from here, nor from the other villages, so do not make assumptions, and I will need to explain to him if this is to go smoothly without any consequences. For anyone, me or you. She was half trying to keep the situation calm, and half trying not to seem weak. She got a good long look into the memories she got from Naruto's blood, and knew exactly how long she was asleep. Being asleep, without a coffin and dirt from her birthplace or blood whilst in the sunlight from time to time, for about 3,000 years, that tends to take a toll on a vampire's power. Luckily, she was pretty well fully powerful before she went to sleep, otherwise she'd have been completely dead already. Jiraiya looked long and hard at Sarah's, but Naruto got between them. Alright, stop it, pervy sage, she's right, we need to get to the 3rd. Trust me, it is important. Either you can come with or let us be, but we need to go. Sarah's smiled. Not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he sure is the most determined and headstrong one. That's for sure. Jiraiya sighed heavily and shrugged. Let's go see him then. Follow me. He turned and led them through town, and Sarah's was getting weird looks. Some because of her unique look, having the same uniform from Hellsing she always had, having had it on before she slept, and some from the fact she was a hell of a looker. No matter how long she lived, she would always be ogled by perverts because of how beautiful she was. Beauty was such a curse. But also a blessing, she supposed. They entered the tower and walked up to the Hokage's office, and as Jiraiya knocked, he was a bit nervous. If this doesn't go smoothly, this will be my head on a pike. Oh well, as long as I get in a good look before I die. He knocked, and on the other side of the door was a stern, "Enter." Jiraiya knew that tone was of him being bored, wanting something to take his mind off the paperwork. They did, and the 3rd was looking out the window. Jiraiya sweated a bit at the small bit of tension. Sarutobi, I have a guest here. Not sure what's up about her, but she can tell me herself. Right? Sarah's stepped up. Yes, I can. So, you are the 3rd Hokage, it is an honor. Although I do suspect something off here. Yes, 5 Anbu. 4 on all corners of the room, 1 outside the window. I also sense their intent to attack. Better keep this situation calm. I know I can take them if they try anything. The 3rd nodded, being passive, in deep thought. He puffed on his pipe. Honor will be mine, if you are not an enemy spy. I highly doubt that, but your appearance is very strange, and the fact I have never seen you before, in my many years I have seen nearly everyone in this village, bears the question. Who are you? Sarah's nodded. I understand that this is of a major inconvenience for you, but allow me to give you a brief explanation. First, I am Sarah's Victoria. Where I am from doesn't exist anymore. Why am I here? I do not even realize how I came to be in that crevice. All I know is I am here, and I will help Naruto in any way he requires me. Sarutobi just sat there, looking at Sarah's with nothing, no emotion or anything. After a few seconds he sat up in his chair and reached into a drawer. He pulled out a book. Dark red in color and no real name or anything. This is a rank SSS secret. Jiraiya, if you would. Jiraiya blinked in confusion, but this was a serious Sarutobi, and a level that high was reserved for only the Hokages. Jiraiya did 3 sets of 12 hand seals, a pretty long jutsu, and clapped his hands together. 5 senses barrier jutsu. Naruto was confused more so. What was that? It didn't do anything. And what is this about old man? Sarutobi opened the book. The jutsu created a barrier, one that no one outside the barrier, which contorts to the room's walls, will be able to see, hear, smell, taste or touch anything that happens within this room. Trust me, it's very possible to touch and understand what someone says, taste what appears in sight hundreds of yards away. Now, Sarah's, was it? Sarah's nodded and Sarutobi flipped to the front of the book, the inside of the cover. It says in this book, "The bird of Hermes is my name, eating my wings to make me tame." And then a prayer of some sort, and the name. Sarah's Victoria at the bottom. Does this mean anything to you? Sarah's looked shocked. Of course she didn't know about this. The only memories she had were that of Kushina Uzumaki, Minato Namikaze, and the grandparents. What she did not know was some secrets of this world prevented some memories from making it to her. She gained her composure and stared at the third, a little more intently now. Yes. I believe I wrote that book. It survived. I don't know why, but it appears to have been for a purpose. Sarutobi put it down in front of him. Around 200 years ago the first Hokage found it. This was before the founding of the first ninja villages, thus why this is so secret. During the ninja wars, where groups of ninja from different families, clans, and bloodlines all fought for control of their given area, there were also losses in resources as much as there was in lives. We mined on a rich source of metal, and one day we hit something. He pushed the book forward. We found a small cave, it had a bookshelf. Most of the books were dust, had no more than 5 pages and even some that had no writing even though they had a few still preserved pages. This was the only book that was untarnished by time. It was as perfect as it is now, just a little dusting was needed. What is surprising is not that the book survived, but what the book portrays. Immortality, monsters, and those whom are devils, but to the work of God. It has in here many things that were very shocking to see and hear. The one to find it was the second Hokage, the first Hokage's brother, whom gave it to the first Hokage, and thus the secret was passed between all 4 cages. Sadly, the fourth never got to reading it, as many things were done between his appointment of Hokage and his death. Sarah's was still confused. The one person's memory she has that should have memory of this book, doesn't remember it. There was a whole block of time in the memory line of that person, nothing at all was there. Either something happened to make that person forget, even in their blood, or the story wasn't real. Sarutobi puffed on his pipe, looking sternly at Sarah's. If you are whom you say you are, you have to be thousands of years old, and yet so young looking. Considering the uniform, the shield on the shoulders and chest, the name on them, those cannot be faked. Are you a vampire as said in this book? Sarah's looked sternly back, smiling proudly. Yes, sir, I am. One that transcended the greatest obstacle of time. Thousands of years ago, this world was not as it was now. See, time itself, the world itself, restarted. I survived it, but only just barely. The third frowned. Restarted? What does that mean? Sarah's grabbed the book and opened it to the back and showed the date. I wrote this, my time, 2020 AD. I remember from Naruto's memories that this year is 1082. No letters to determine any kind of separation from old or new. The reason being, 1082 years ago, this world was wiped clean of nearly everything. Everything, London, my comrades, my friends, everyone. And everything too, apparently a few scarce objects made it, but I think only this is preserved because I am here, for it is connected with my powers. Sarutobi nodded at that. I see. Sounds reasonable, except the fact you know about it at all. Also, you said from Naruto's memories. What do you mean? Did you steal his memories or something? Sarah sighed. No, not on purpose anyway. See, if you've read this, you know that vampires drink blood. I won't dare drink blood from an unwilling subject, but I suggest you grab some blood packs for storage for me to drink. Otherwise I may just find a way to drink blood from people in the street. I was comatose, down in the crevice that this creeped through Naruto down. The walls made of spikes. Naruto fell and got impaled a few times, his blood flying everywhere. Some spilled on me, the smell woke me and I drank a few drops that were on me, thus how I woke up. Naruto looked a little nervous. I guess getting hurt was a good thing. Better to have bled out a bit and woken her to catch me rather than die from the fall. Sarutobi hummed in thought. He understood a bit after that. Let me guess, you can receive the memories of the one whose blood you drank. Sarah's nodded. Yes, and thus why I know of the Kyuubi. Those words had Sarutobi glaring with the intent to kill. She looked calm though, under that gaze. I seen worse glares from my former master. I know Naruto is not the Kyuubi, and I appreciate you trying everything you can to help him survive and help his situation as best you could. It may not have worked well, but you helped a lot. Sarutobi hummed a bit, still glaring. After reading the book he knew her to be trusted with this, but having someone just enter the village whom could match some of his best men with any surprises she had in store, he had to stay alert. He puffed on his pipe and calmed his look. Thank you, I suppose. Sarah's, since you are obviously not a threat, as of this moment I see anyway, you're welcome to walk freely in the village. With limitations and such of course. Sarah's was now the one to gently glare. Limitations? Such as? Sarutobi hummed in thought before speaking sternly. You're not to leave the village, and will be under constant Anbu watch. Every week you and I will meet for a chat, so that we can make sure of everything between you and this village. Sarah's frowned at that, and took a deep breath. I have some conditions to lay down with those. Kind of like exceptions. If you don't mind. Sarutobi just glared a bit but nodded. She continued. Firstly, no matter what the rules be, I stick by Naruto's side. Whilst he is on a mission outside the village or in the village. Secondly, I wish to be the one to help train him. This creep, the one who was supposed to train your grandson, and the actual sensei he was assigned didn't teach him anything at all. Summoning, water and tree walking. All he has is under average taijutsu, no genjutsu and can't even fight it, not to mention he has no ninjutsu to speak of besides two of the basics and the multi-shadow clone jutsu. No disrespect to Naruto, but it's a miracle he managed to make it to the finals to begin with having such under-par training. No doubt that Sasuke Kid is getting intense actual training, and Sakura is once again being left behind. Sarutobi glared more. You are questioning the teaching methods of one of my best? Sarah stood proud, her arms crossed over her chest. From Naruto's memories, I can be certain that this Kakashi character is not doing his job. And I know you know this. Sarutobi kept his position, glaring and sternly looking at Sarah's for a good while. Suddenly he smiled and softened up. I do. Unfortunately. Though Jiraiya should have been doing more. Why not? Jiraiya's sweat dropped. Well, I was going to help his taijutsu, but he was having such trouble with summoning toads. Sarah's barked at him loudly. How do you expect him to summon anything when you just laze around peeping on women in the waterfall you were at? Jiraiya paled, seeing Sarutobi glare at him now. Jiraiya sighed in defeat. Fine, I should have done more, but I'm a man of weakness, and I tried. Hell, I was trying to get him to summon the Kyuubi's chakra and use it finally to be an asset. Sarutobi sighed heavily. Well, it didn't work, and you should know better than to risk his safety over than Kyuubi. I have enough problems dealing with the council. But, Sarah's, I agree to those terms. If you agree to this one, you will train him beside Kakashi, and make sure all team members are getting equal training and are equals in the field. Since Kakashi is being so lax with the other two, and the fact he supports us in this matter, I can assign you as a secondary sensei. Accept this, and we can get down to assigning you an actual identity. Jiraiya stepped up. That really a good idea? I mean, you don't even know her abilities, or if she is actually prime Junin material. Sarah's smirked. And I suppose bashing your head into the ground doesn't account for something? Jiraiya pouted at her. Hey, I was between putting my guard up and ogling you. Even a new Chunin would be able to get a hit in. Sarutobi smirked this time. Should I take your rank away if you are so easy a target then? If a new Chunin can get you as long as she is a beautiful woman, then how come you're so highly ranked? Jiraiya grumbled at that. Fine, she has some skill, but like hell I say she should be Junin off the bat. Suddenly she turned into one and flew around him, and he was creeping out and swatting at her, but she changed back and smirked at him with an evil grin. Jiraiya frowned. Transformation, big deal, even the basic genin can do that. He regretted that and changed back, sitting on his shoulder and putting a wing out. Jiraiya felt it up and it was furry, it was real. Then she shifted into a snake and slithered around him before turning into a tiger and then back. Jiraiya was stunned by this. No hand seals, and it was real, no illusion at all. He crossed his arms. Fine. Tell you what, you teach him these last 2 weeks before the exams. If he can't beat Neji, then you ask for a demotion. Sarah's shrugged. If I can't even get Naruto skilled enough to fight in the finals with true skill, I doubt I deserve to live with him as my master and should probably die for disgrace. Sarutobi nodded. So, with this all agreed, Naruto? You also have a say in this. Naruto looked to Sarah's and thought a moment. He smiled. I trust her. Come on, old man. I would love to have an actual sensei to train me more. Sarutobi nodded and looked to Sarah's. See me first thing tomorrow. Say 4 a.m. 'Cause I know you vampires are more nocturnal. I still don't understand how you got here without burns at least. Sarah's smiled. I'm no ordinary vampire. If we are though. She got a nod and turned to Jiraiya. Try not to ogle too much, or next I will transform into something that can rip your head off. She turned and she and Naruto left. When Sarah's entered his apartment, she frowned. I was hoping your memories were exaggerating. It was a dump, but thankfully decently cleaned. The bed made, the floors dusted, everything working, but there were ramen cups all over the table and a few piled up dishes. She sat down on the couch and found it was lumpy just like Naruto remembers it. She sighed. I am fixing this. This is no way for my master to live. Naruto got her some juice, making sure of the expiration date which he made a habit after the milk incident a while back. She smiled but shook her head. No thank you. Now, I guess I should explain some things. Naruto sat beside her. I'd like to know more since you managed to come alive by drinking the few drops of blood I bled inside that crevice. Not to mention I never heard of a vampire. And I don't actually believe the fact you're thousands of years old and still this. Well. Sarah smiled at his innocence and saw him blushing. Thanks for the compliment, master. How about I start from the beginning? This may take a while, so please get comfortable. From start to finish, when I first became a vampire, to now. It all started with vampire by the name of Alucard. Sarah's and Naruto were still sitting on his couch, the day nearly at an end, and she only had 13 days left, including this one, to train him before the finals of the Chunin exams. But she was caught up in her story she was telling Naruto. She told him everything that was relevant to him about herself. Sarah's took a deep breath. So, after those insane cyborg and robot vampires tried to destroy England again, Hellsing was on the job. We finished them without any worry. I'd grown more powerful after such a long break from real combat after that bloody Nazi lunatic tried his hand. It was actually 20 years after we beat them that it happened. Naruto was stunned by the entire story. Her powers, how she fought, what guns were, hell, he was kind of surprised between the Nazi thing and the robot vampires were a total of 1,000 years apart. But what came next was the true answer to his question. Sarah's looked down sadly. The world was entering a strange substance within the universe. Apparently, our galaxy was fusing with 2 others at the same time. The general flux and fusing of 3 central galactic suns, 100 times bigger than the sun you're used to, collapsed the entire galaxy. The cosmic energy that was overcoming all 3 galaxies were misplaced, and it hit hard. As our world was being burned and cleansed of anything, Alucard offered me his blood. Naruto looked at her and shook his head to get out of his stupor enough to ask her. Wait, your former master offered his blood to you. What did you do? Sarah smiled sadly. He told me that if I wanted to live, to be able to become a true Draculina, a true vampire, and survive the planet's burning and restarting, I must drink his blood, every drop, as he poured his powers into me. He sacrificed himself to help me, and to help the world. He was crazy at times, but he truly did care for humanity. I saw a bright light, then a darkness. Next thing I know, I wake up and catch you. Naruto smiled. He sounds like a great man. I'm sure you miss him, but I bet he's still looking over you in whatever afterlife awaits. Sarah smiled. He's the most strong-headed and determined tool in the shed, as well as the biggest-hearted person I've known. Guess it wasn't so bad, bypassing time and being dead for thousands of years. Naruto noticed it was nighttime. Well, I better get some sleep. Tomorrow I gotta get back to training. I'll take the couch, you go ahead and take the bed, it's much comfier. Sarah smiled and giggled a bit and pushed him off the couch and forward. I'm okay on the couch, you need to rest up for tomorrow. After all, I will be training you, and I won't go easy on you. After all, you want to be strong, and I only know one way to help you get that way. Naruto smiled and nodded. I won't let you down. Rest well. With that he was off to get changed and get in bed. Sarah smiled and just sat in the couch. She sighed. I'll need to tell him I don't sleep at night. I'll need some blood soon, I can barely stand this sunlight as I am now. Maybe I can ask for one packet when I go for that meeting tomorrow. Just one would be enough to keep me going for a week whilst he gets the supplies ready. She closed her eyes to rest, at least. She wouldn't sleep, but letting her body rest at night was a good idea. Sarah's was resting her body, but not her mind, however, as she tried to process everything, all memories, trying to figure out everything about him, his past, and his parents and grandparents. It was just a little weird how Hashirama, the first Hokage, didn't have any memory of the book. There was a whole day worth of memories totally missing from that part of the DNA in the blood she drank. Sarah's focused on it, and only got a few bits, him looking at a Yamanaka, and telling him to begin. That was it, actually. Wait, Yamanaka, as everything I see in the memories of these people, are masters of psychology and have special abilities to go into a person's mind and mess around. Maybe that's what happened, the Yamanaka took away the memory. Too bad it doesn't work for blood memories, but it did lock it, for some reason. She never had this happen before. Although she supposed in this new world, it was quite possible. Sarah's opened her eyes and looked at the clock. It had been a while since she began organizing those memories. It was already 3 in the morning. She got up and walked over to Naruto, sleeping soundly, well, snoring, loudly, but still sleeping without a care. Sarah smiled and walked out, locking the door and backing off it a bit. She took a deep breath and put her hands out before suddenly a shadowy substance covered the door. She smiled and started walking again. That should protect him as I am out. Sarah's walked to the Hokage tower and entered, knocking on the door. With a stern sound telling her to enter, she did, and she seen the Hokage was finishing the last 10 pieces of paperwork. Sit, you are early. She did and he quickly finished. He sighed and massaged his wrist. Old age is a curse sometimes, my old bones are having trouble keeping up with so much paperwork anymore. Sarah smiled. Everything is a curse. Youth, maturity, the possibility of dying at old age, or immortality. Everything is a curse, and yet, a blessing. After quite a few thousand years, you understand better. Personally, I see no downside to growing old. The third smiled at that. I guess you have a point. I always encourage that the young benefit from the knowledge of their elders, and, dare I say, such a beauty as you still looking this young, being my elder, I would be a hypocrite to not take my advice, and take your own as well. Sarah's nodded and bowed. Thank you, Hokage-sama. You may not have been very helpful in Naruto's development, after everything he went through, but you did save his life when it counted, and I understand the council is different than it was back in the days of the first Hokage. They probably tried some political plays to keep you from helping him any more than you already did. But you still did your best. For that, I thank you. Sarutobi bowed as well. Now then, first things first, I understand vampires are not able to go out into the sunlight. How come you are able to? Sarah's looked serious. The book is very informative on normal vampires, but I didn't exactly put out on how me and my former master were not normal vampires. See, I was turned into a vampire by my former master, who was called Alucard. I did mention him in my book, but did not detail who he really was. He was the first vampire. The real vampire. He was Count Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. He went by many names. Being the first and greatest of all vampires, he was immune to sunlight, and wasn't as vulnerable to holy magic or silver as normal vampires were. The third hummed in interest and curiosity. Very strange indeed. As you were saying, I can guess the reason you, yourself, are immune to sunlight, is taken from the fact he was the one who changed you. Sarah's nodded. Yes, but also no. I'm not as vulnerable in the sunlight as a normal vampire, but by no means am I totally immune. Being without a coffin with the soul of my birthplace, in that hole, where the sun would shine on me from time to time, for a couple thousand years, it took a heavy toll on my power. I'll be pretty weak soon, as weak as one of your civilians, unless I can drink some blood. The third nodded. Well, I just gave the order to put some in a separate storage for any time you require it. I did manage to get this, it's blood from 10 years ago. I figured you would need some soon, considering you just woke up. He grabbed a packet of it from his drawer and threw it at her. She smiled and nodded. Thank you. I'll drink it when I get back to Naruto's. My master gave me his blood, and poured his powers into me before I slept, having survived the resetting of this planet's life. That's the only reason I was even able to survive in the first place. The third chuckled. I guess it was fortunate. So, tomorrow you start training Naruto for the exams. Care to tell me how you plan to get him ready? Sarah's nodded. Simple. Actual teaching. I'll train him in some martial arts I learned in my time, as well as a few training tips I learned from his memories and the memories from his ancestors to give him at least one new jutsu to use. The third hummed at that, looking a bit more serious. So, you know who his parents are? Sarah's frowned. I know his parents, and grandparents. Thus, why I was shocked to see the book. The grandfather I on his mother's side, was Hashirama, the first Hokage, and there was a whole day where his memory was blank. I managed to focus and gain access to part of the memory, and I think I figured out why. A Yamanaka removed his memory, under his orders, so that no one would be able to learn the secrets of the book. Sarutobi was looking sternly at her, and had to ask, You know all our secrets? Sarah's frowned. I know where you are getting at, and to tell you the truth, I know everything the 6 relatives I have gotten the memories of through Naruto's blood knew. Yes, I do, but I am loyal to Naruto. And since he is loyal to you, that means I am not against you in any way. Even though I do want to destroy a few villagers and ninja who tried to kill him over the years. Sarutobi kept his stern glare at her, but softened up, smiling. I suppose they would have it coming, but I am glad you are refraining from trying that. Still, it is very inconvenient you know all the secrets of our village. Sarah smiled. I won't tell. I've been through many tortures in my life, and not one worked on me to make me talk about anything concerned with where my loyalties lie. But, me knowing has a benefit. I am able to teach Naruto everything he was supposed to know in the first place. Sarutobi chuckled at that. I see. You plan to, in time, give him his legacy. That's good. The council cannot stop you, since I did something very special with you. Sarah's was confused. Sarutobi pulled out 2 scrolls. He opened one and gave it to her. She read it. Sarah's Victoria, Special Operations, under direct control of the Hokage. Rank: Junin. Team: 7. Ko-sensei. Kakashi Hatake. Title: Immortal Blood. Bloodline: Power Drain. Abilities: Unknown till further notice. Special conditions of joining Konoha ranks: must stay under probationary watch by Anbu guards for 3 months, and must never leave Naruto Uzumaki's side unless it is for standard procedure meetings, which include Junin meetings, joint meetings, missions, standard medical examinations, and Hokage priority meetings, and also must make sure all 3 students under her and Kakashi are equally trained. Does not require her to train all 3 students if 1 or 2 are already trained more than the others. Under no circumstances will this person be ordered by anyone else other than the Hokage, unless the Hokage is present and fully complies to the orders given. If such orders are given to Sarah's Victoria without permission of the Hokage, or without compliance of the Hokage with her, she has the right to deny any such order without reprimand. If reprimand is dealt under such conditions, the council will be subjected to torture under the assumption of espionage activity against Konoha as a whole. Wow, you pulled every loophole to keep anything from happening to me or Naruto. And since that angry little boy, Sasuke, is such a asshole to Naruto, I wouldn't want to train him anyway. Sakura, however, I may train just to get her to see the error of her ways. Sarutobi smiled at that. Good. I am glad I did a good job, cause I had to go through many trials before I could finalize it without overdoing it. Now, for your new uniform. Sarah's looked at him in a puzzled manner. He chuckled. Would you rather keep that outfit on all the time? It's pretty dirty, and not to mention if you are going to represent Konoha with Naruto, you will need to show it. Sarah's chuckled nervously but agreed. Sarutobi took the other scroll and opened it, activated the seal, and a jacket popped out. He threw it to her and she caught it. She looked it over. Sarutobi smiled. It's the standard Junin vest, but with modifications I personally had tailored for you. Like the patch on the front and the shoulder. She looked and seen the Hellsing symbol on the front and on the extended sleeves of the jacket on the shoulder, and smiled. Thank you for that. Even in this new day and age, I will forever be a part of Hellsing. The third nodded. I had the sleeves added to put the symbol on. Also, I didn't want to pry on your size, so I had to take a guess, and I compared what I saw with you to a few of the women under my command, and you have a similar body type to Anko, so I used her size. I hope it fits. If it doesn't, you can put your size on this form here and a new one will be made up for you tomorrow. Sarah's seen he put up a form. She put the thing on and sipped it up, giving it a good movement test before humming in thought. It's a bit too tight. I guess I can keep it unzipped for today. Thank you. She put down her actual size and he filed it for priorities before puffing on his newly filled pipe. The third sighed. Well, I suppose that does it for our first meeting. Same time next week, I suppose. Sarah's nodded and bowed. Thank you very much, and I shall see you as soon as we are able again. She left and the Hokage turned in his chair. It's a dawning of a new day in this village, and the dawning for something miraculous, but what does this do for our future? Will it be better off, or will we have more troubles along the way now that Sarah's has returned? Sarah's returned to the apartment, taking down the barrier she left on the door, and entered. She grabbed her blood pack and looked at it. B negative. Always had such a sticky flavor to it. She bared her fangs and her eyes glowed red as she stared at the blood. Sarah's closed her eyes and calmed herself before ripping the tube open and downing the entire packet and savoring the taste. It was a long time since she tasted blood, and it was a very good feeling having it finally drizzle down her throat once more. She sighed as she finished the packet and smiled, licking her lips. Not my favorite blood type, but it sure hit the spot. She awaited until Naruto woke up to begin his training. He yawned as the sun hit his face, and woke up soon enough. After he got his breakfast and shower, he put on a clean jumpsuit and she frowned. Naruto seen this and he looked nervous. What's wrong? Sarah sighed and went to the counter, grabbing his frog wallet and grabbing what money he had. You, stay here, master. I'm going to buy you some actual clothes. How does a darker orange sound? That way you don't look like too huge a target, whilst still keeping your favorite color. Naruto blinked but smiled sadly. You know my memories, you know I can't get anything better. But I do like the orange. A little darker is okay, I guess. If you buy them for me, I think they won't overcharge you. Sarah smiled. He does have street wisdom, but no real knowledge, yet. I'll help him any way I am able. Alright, I will return soon. Oh, and just leave the shopping to me, that way you don't have to get overpaid for rotten junk. Naruto smiled and nodded. She left and went to get him some actual clothing. She knew all his likes and dislikes, what looks good to him and what does not. So she had to make sure nothing she got would be distasteful to him, whilst still trying to get him decent sets of clothes. She entered a shinobi gear shop, and looked around. One woman came up to her. May I help you, miss? Sarah's gave a fake smile, one that hid her want to torture this woman. Not really, I am shopping for a friend out of town. Thank you though. The woman nodded and bowed before leaving. Sarah's sighed heavily, as if I would need help from the woman who gave Naruto clothes that burned through his skin one time. The nasty fucking bitch. She saw a few dark orange suits, but nothing that was slim or allowed for good movement. She went towards the back and found what she was looking for, smiling as she grabbed one of the 3 pairs of dark orange shirts. It was dark orange and had plate armor on the forearms. 3 pairs of them were good, and she grabbed a few of the dark orange shinobi stretch cargo jeans with foreleg plate armor and a belt to keep them on in case they were too big. After that, she made sure he didn't seem strange wearing his new shirt, which would seem tight on him compared to that baggy jumpsuit, and grabbed a dark blue combat vest. It wasn't standard issue Junin and Chunin vest material, but for a genin, it was high-quality polymer cloth and had light armor plating inside it. She also took a few pairs of plated combat gloves and a better quality, dark orange, gear bag for Naruto, since his was pretty worn out and about to break apart, it was like that when he got it a year ago. She went to the counter to pay for it all and the woman at the cashier rung up everything. So, have a friend you're buying all this for? Sarah's smiled again, a fake one cause this woman was the one who tried cutting Naruto's throat when he tried to pay normal price for the normal gear the first time coming in. Yes, they are out of town, but they told me they needed some help getting some new gear cause they always do dangerous missions that cut their clothes up so much. The woman giggled. They must be getting into trouble if they need all this. Sarah's had a total of 100,000 ryo, and it all rung up to around 50,000 total price. She was glad she got the actual price, and not the outrageous 3 times charge they all did to Naruto. She was taking them all back to the apartment, but seen the weapons shop, owned by the greatest weapon-using shinobi family in Konoha. Because of the dangerous business it was being merchants and shinobi of weapons, their last name was confidential, but the alias used was Tensudo Ryu, or the Heavenly Strike Dragon. Sarah's decided to see if she couldn't get him some proper gear before getting back. Sure, his tools were actually pretty good, seeing as this shop was one of the good ones to him, but she didn't like how he was getting only the standard gear. He needed something good, he deserved it. She went in and behind the counter was a gruff-looking man, who seemed to have just gotten out of the smith's shop in the back, wiping his hands off with a cloth. He smiled. Welcome to the shop, browse all you like, we've got a great selection of quality merchandise. General shinobi gear is on the left wall, special selection weaponry on the right wall, and the clearance sale items are in the cases in the middle. If you've got the cash, the high-priced supreme quality gear we've gotten into stock by trade from distant lands is on the very back wall. Please take all the time you need, I'll ring you up when you're done. Sarah smiled and nodded and started looking at the items. First looking at clearance items to see what she could find. She didn't see anything real good quality for less as she had hoped, but the highest priced item in the clearance cases was only 15,000 ryo, lowest being a total of 9 for a small knife. She checked the special selections wall and found a pretty nice looking saber. It had a silver colored scabbard, but an orange colored guard, and at the end of the scabbard it slowly turned from silver to orange to fit the coloring in just the right way. She looked to the man behind the counter. May I take a look at some of these? Inspect them if you will. The man chuckled heartily. Not at all. If the customer doesn't feel completely right with a purchase, then we would rather keep the item for ourselves. Take all the time you need to see if the weapons are right for you. Sarah smiled and giggled a bit. This isn't for me, it's for a friend of mine. I'm shopping for him as he's busy and doesn't have time getting some good gear. But I do know what he would enjoy and what would work with him. The man nodded and she looked to the saber again and picked it off the wall, feeling that the silver color was not real silver, just paint. The man hummed. That's a special item indeed. A man came by with it a year ago, said it was a special find in the land of wind. It was buried inside a secret tomb that was supposed to have been a home to a king 1,000 years ago. It was in decent shape, actually, and it's a very special weapon. It's the only one of its kind as far as I can tell. I don't even know what type of weapon it is. Sarah smiled. It's a saber. It's a very unique weapon. It has a slight curve to the blade, and comes in a few different lengths. This one seems right about arm's length, and has a full hand guard. The man behind the counter was very intrigued. How do you know so much, when I don't, and I am an expert on all weapons? Sarah's giggled. Let's just say I've been around the block when it comes to weapons. This seems in superb condition. Very high quality, and has a very shallow blood groove. The inlays on the guard and handle are very well done, and seems the blade was sharpened recently. The handle seems about right for my friend, the finger grip is very helpful. How much? The man hummed in thought. After hearing all that and how knowledgeable she was on weapons, and this one even he knew nothing about, he decided for a fair deal. How about 30,000 ryo? Sarah smiled and nodded. Anything on this wall for 20 or less. That's all I got left to spare after I buy this from you. The man hummed as he came up to the wall and looked at the different weapons. He picked out 5 and shown them to her. She looked at them all, but found nothing really good for Naruto. Sarah's put them back for him and kept the saber in hand. She looked around a little more and wanted to see about the really high quality items, just in case there may be something good she would be able to save up for in the future for Naruto. Sarah's came across one such item, and only one. It was an eye-catcher to her. It was a weapon she knew well, even if she only seen it a few times thousands of years ago. This weapon was used by her master, Alucard. He once told her it was a very good weapon, one he enjoyed using because it always caused the greatest amount of damage, slicing cleanly through anything he swung at, and would spill the most blood. It was the Killy. Her master told her it was a very old type of weapon, but a very deadly and very elegant one. She was pretty amazed one was here in the New World, and one so well made. She looked to the man behind the counter. "Sir, what's the story with this weapon?" The man came up and smiled proudly. "Ah, that one. I created it 5 years ago. I was following a few rebels in the land of hot springs, and I seen a really badly burned and badly damaged by rot and dirt piece of paper. It hardly had more than 10 words on it on directions for a blacksmith to create a sword. I bought it for a small price, and I tried a great many tries till I found the right way to make it. When I did, I melted it down and made a different weapon, since it was a very poor quality metal. I had to find out how to make it properly without using higher quality metals or I'd be wasting money. So when I finally got it right, I grabbed the better materials I had at the time, and this thing was made. I don't know the name of it, only that it's supposed to be a very effective killing weapon." Sarah's giggled. "The Killy. And it's an amazing weapon, elegant and sharp. Cuts through enemies cleanly without any difficulty. I can't afford it though." The man chuckled a bit, but smiled. "It's almost 100,000 Rio, so it's pretty expensive. I can put you on the payment plan if you want." Sarah's looked to him. "Payment plan?" The man nodded. "Every month, you pay 10,000 Rio, and when it's paid in full, with an interest fee of 5,000 Rio for holding it, you may have it. Now, you are welcome to bring in more than 10,000 a month, which basically is paying in advance for the next month in case you cannot pay that particular month. But when it is paid in full, either in 3 months or 10, as long as you pay the full value of the item plus the holding fee, it's yours." Sarah's hummed in thought, thinking if it would be wise to do that. She decided to try. "All right, sounds fair. I'll pay the first payment for it as I pay for the saber." The man went behind the counter and rung her item up, and she paid the first month's fee of 10,000 Rio. She left with the clothes and sword back to the apartment, and seen Naruto was eating some ramen for lunch whilst she was gone. "I'm back." Naruto smiled. "Hey Sarah's, how did shopping go?" Sarah's put the clothes in front of him. "Get changed, we better hurry, the sunlight is wasting. Oh, and I got you something special if you manage to complete training." Naruto looked puzzled and she showed the saber. Naruto looked wide-eyed. "Wow, that's so cool. What is it?" He ran to her and looked at it as she held it and unsheathed it for him to see. Sarah smiled, showing him. "It's a very unique sword, used for quick attacks and good for defense as well. It's yours when you complete training. If you cannot complete everything I plan for you these next 2 weeks, then you don't get it until you do complete it." "Fair." Naruto grinned and stood proudly. "Totally. I'm not gonna lose. I'll complete everything you are going to train me in before I face Neji. Just wait until he sees me using a sword." She put it away for now and he went and changed. When he came out, Sarah's blushed as she seen him in the new clothes. "Very impressive. I guess I chose well, didn't I?" Naruto smirked, gripping his hand in a fist whilst wearing his new gloves, and checking himself out. "It's amazing. I look pretty cool, maybe even stronger with this on. Now let's go, I wanna get ready for the exams." Sarah's nodded and they went to an empty training area. She smiled as she loosened up. "All right, now, first thing we need to teach you is how to dodge." She rushed in to attack him and he looked shocked at her speed as she was in front of him with blinding speed. She lightly tapped his head with her fist and he looked shocked. She smiled. "Now you see why." Naruto pouted and blushed. "Hey, don't treat me like a weak little kid. Give me all you got, and I'll do the same. If I get hit, I know I need to get better. Now let's train for real." Sarah smirked. "As you wish, master." Her eyes changed to red again and she rushed him yet again, this time punching him hard and sending him flying back into a tree. He groaned and shook in shock. She giggled nervously and stuck her tongue out. "Whoops, a little too much." She knew, Though, it was going to be a few days till he was ready for the exams, seeing how Neji fought when Naruto watched him in his memories she received. I just hope he's ready for my training. I can only hope. Forgive me if I am too rough, my master. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next part.